Good afternoon, everyone. So today we have Mr. Shaurya with us. He's a PhD physics and he's having more than 12 years of experience. So we welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Over
Uh,
to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you, along with your families, are keeping well in these dire times. So, today we all are here to discuss the latest specimen paper released by CBSE for Class 12 Physics and also discuss the syllabus and the bifurcation in detail. So, coming to the task at hand, let's quickly run down to the flow of this webinar we have today. Firstly, let's discuss about the conduct of the examinations of CBSE Term 2. Secondly, we'll lay detailed focus on bifurcated and reduced syllabus as of now. Then we shall discuss the specimen question paper and some key points I would suggest along with you all how to prepare our students for this forthcoming term 2 examinations. Lastly, as we all know, we are here on the eve when this Goyal have released their Score Plus question bank and along with model test papers, we'll discuss some key points for the same. And at the last, since it's a large audience, I will like all of you to have maybe a pen and paper. If you have any doubts, any corrections, any suggestions, I would welcome all of you to speak at the end of the webinar. Okay, so let's proceed. Firstly, there seems to be some ambiguity over the conduct of term 2 examinations, like whether will they be held as an online exam, as an offline exam. Uh, to be reasonable, I'll take a good enough guess. Like by all means, we are going to have offline exams for term 2, that is the final term board exams for class 12. Now, as per the original plan laid out by CBSE in the start of the academic session 2021-22, it clearly specified that the exams would be split into two terms. We are already done with the term 1, and most likely we are going as per schedule to have the term 2 in March and maybe overstretching till April. Okay, now moving ahead, we already are aware like our entire 70-mark theory paper was split into two halves. We are already done with a 35-mark complete MCQ based question paper in term 1, and we are now to deal with term 2 subjective paper. Yeah, that's the word, subjective paper. Students will have or rather will be appearing in offline examinations in maybe home centers or centers allotted by CBSE for their term 2 exams, which would be very much a subjective paper of 2 hours. We'll talk about it later. Now, we already are aware even the practical 30 marks have been split. Uh, I guess someone's microphone is on. Could you just check and put it on mute?
Let me just check. I'll just do it for you.
Okay, as I was saying, even the practical part of the internal assessment as led by CBSE was broken down into two terms of 15 marks apiece. So again, I guess most of the schools had some discretion, but there were clear set of instructions led by CBSE, like what are the practicals. We'll even discuss about them later. So this is the broad splitting of the entire year's format for this year. Now, coming to the syllabus part, this was what we had in our term 1 examinations, right? We are already done with this. That is unit 1, 2, 3, and 4 consisting of electrostatics, current electricity, the magnetic effects of current and magnetism, and lastly, EMI and alternating currents. So we'll not waste time talking about what we already done. Let's quickly turn down ourselves to the term 2 syllabus. I like to have your attention here, right? We are left with 5 units going from unit 5, that is electromagnetic waves. Next, we have optics, under which we have two chapters, followed by dual nature of radiation and matter. Next would be atoms and nuclei, and the last unit 9 is on electronic devices, where we basically just have cut short ourselves to semiconductor devices. I'll take some time to discuss each unit turn by turn with their specific chapters and their subtopics and what have been deleted. So kindly pay attention guys. Now, in the first unit under term 2, that is electromagnetic waves, we have three subtopics as laid down in our NCERT books. They are the displacement current, that is the Maxwell's correction to the fourth Ampere's law. Next was electromagnetic waves, where we had both the qualitative as well as quantitative aspect, and followed by the last part of the chapter was electromagnetic spectra, right? Now, under this chapter as well as unit, The topics which have been chucked out are displacement current, that is the entire introductory part of the chapter. Further, even in electromagnetic waves only, and I'll re-emphasize, only the qualitative ideas have to be provided. The entire mathematical framework or the quantitative ideas have been removed. That means we need not talk about expressing a wave as maybe y is equal to a sine omega t minus kx. All the mathematical part have been removed. Electromagnetic spectrum lays very much as it is. The entire part of it is will be there. Switching to next unit, it consists of two chapters under optics. First one, as we know, is on ray optics and optical instruments with the following subtopics. We firstly study the reflection by spherical mirrors, followed by refraction and total internal reflection, and their physical applications like mirage formation and all. Next, we read about refraction by lenses, curved surface that means, and prism. Then we have dispersion by prism, natural phenomena due to sunlight, and lastly, optical instruments in which we have like simple and compound microscope and two types of telescope, the reflectors and the refractors. In the next chapter under this unit optics, that is wave optics, we start with the Huygens principle. We derive the laws of reflection and refraction using a plane wavefront based on Huygens principle. We follow it up by coherent and incoherent addition of waves. So this needs a prior knowledge of waves from class 11 and their superposition, right? Next, we read about the interference of light waves and Young's double slit experiment in detail, the formation of fringes and all the mathematical framework. Lastly, we have the topics of diffraction, and here we only read about obviously Fraunhofer diffraction followed by polarization. Now, there are a lot of deductions from this unit. As for ray optics is concerned, the dispersion by prism, this has been totally removed. Like what is the angular displacement between two wavelengths? All this spectrum, this entire topic, dispersion by prism has. There should be no doubt, like refraction by prism is very much there. So all the derivation for finding the angle of minimum deviation and all that, how can we find the refractive index of the prism? That part is very much intact. However, the next topic, that was dispersion by prism, the natural phenomena due to sunlight, where we discuss all these theoretical aspects like why does the sky appear blue or why does the sun appear reddish during sunrise and sunset. All these have been removed. Under optical instruments, as we are just talking about, both the microscope and telescope are very much there with their deductions for magnifying power. We can even expect numericals coming out of it. But the eye part, the entire eye, its parts, its functions, the defects, all of it has been completely removed. Switching to chapter 10, that is the second chapter, wave optics in this unit. The last topic of polarization has been completely removed from the syllabus for term 2. So this is all about unit 6. Switching to unit 7, that is just comprising of one chapter, dual nature of matter and radiation, where the subtopics would be the emissions, types of emissions, photoelectric effect, its experimental setup, how wave theory failed in explaining it, Einstein's equations, the related graph, particle nature of the light, wave nature of matter, that is basically de Broglie hypothesis, or de Broglie as we say it. Lastly, the proof of this wave nature of matter, that is basically Davison and Germer experiment. Among this entire unit, the syllabus, although doesn't feature electron emission as a topic, but I would recommend coming to teaching this photoelectric effect. I guess we need a student to know about this basic emission techniques, like it could be a photo emission or a thermoionic emission, the introductory part of this chapter. So I recommend teaching that. As for the last part, that is Davis-Germer experiment, this entire thing has been removed. Okay, so an important part of this chapter, that is Davison and Germer experiment, that happens to be a proof of wave nature of matter, has been removed. Okay.
Now, subscribe to Bright Duty course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Duty app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Duty courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Duty follows three-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tuesday and avail your courses at affordable prices.
Coming to our next unit, that again comprises of two chapters, atoms and nuclei. Here are the subtopics for chapter 12, that is atoms. We start with alpha scattering experiment and the Rutherford model of an atom. We next deal with atomic spectra. Coming to Bohr model of hydrogen atom, which happens to be a really important topic as term 2 is concerned. We lastly read about the line spectra, all the spectral series of hydrogen. And lastly, there was a small topic in NCERT, a one-page topic on de Broglie's explanations of Bohr's second postulate, that is like the angular momentum of an electron in a given orbit has to be an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Okay, now in this entire chapter 12, this last thing has not been mentioned in the syllabus. But I guess it's just a very small topic and this can be taught to our students, right? Now coming to chapter 13, that is nuclei. The subtopics are the initial introduction about what atomic mass is, atomic number, the structure of nucleus, all those isotopes, different types of pairs of atoms. Then we talk about the size and density of nucleus, followed by Einstein's famous E equal to mc square equation, and the binding energy curve is important. We then have a small portion on nuclear force, and it's no mathematical framework obviously at this class, but we deal with the properties of nuclear force inside a nucleus. We had next important topic of radioactivity, which happens to be completely removed. So for me, this was something from where we could have expected numericals definitely coming, but now radioactivity has been removed. So all this half-life activity, all this concept, Becquerel, Curiel, the unit and all, they have been removed. The last part of this chapter, nuclear, that is dealing with fission and fusion reactions, that is very much there, and this is important. We can expect a 2 or a probably a 3-marker question coming from here, possibly a numerical also. Okay, coming to our last unit of term 2, that is electronic devices. This chapter basically was in 3 to 4 parts, right, as we knew it. So first part dealt with the classification of materials, the types of semiconductors, p-n junction diode, and different special purpose diodes, and also, yeah, obviously diode being used in rectifier circuits, let it be half wave, full wave, or bridge rectifiers. Now, the second part used to be transistors, followed by logic circuits, and lastly, I guess, ICs. Now, this all the later part, that is starting from BJT, bipolar junction transistors, this has been completely removed as of last year only. So this stays the same. Besides that, under special purpose diode, an important topic of Zener diode have been removed. So now we no longer would be having numericals based on Zener diode, which students used to find difficult to deal with. Okay. So among this entire unit, last unit, we have a good enough weightage. We'll shortly see as we discuss the specimen paper. But as for now, yes, we can remove among the special purpose diodes, Zener diodes. So now it will only consist of that photocell, solar cell, and LED. Only the 3 special purpose diodes have to be read, along with their IV characteristics. That would be an important thing. Okay. Now moving ahead, as for practical term 2, I have some doubts as for like, will it be for 60 minutes or 90 minutes? Will actually two experiments have to be performed? But the way CBSE has released its notification as of now, it states the 15 marks for term 2 practical have to be split like this. That is, we give 8 marks for 2 experiments. Viva based on this or the relevant theory part of the syllabus, also of term 2 syllabus, could be asked, will be of 5 marks, and the practical notebook the student maintains, that will carry a weightage of 2 marks. So this all add up to 15. It's been clearly mentioned as a, since we expect like this to be evaluated with the internal faculty of the school along with an external examiner allotted by CBSE for a given center. So as a student, a teacher can guide them to have a record of at least 4 experiments among the list of experiments we had for term 2, mainly including electronics and optics, that is, followed by 3 activities, right? I guess all of us are aware we have already would have done the same for the term 1 exams, just to recapitulate all this. Okay, now I have a link in front of you. Like, please do not rely on any source on the internet for the exact curriculum or the specimen paper. But yeah, here's obviously refer to the authorized or the host website of CBSE, that is cbseacademic.nic. I've provided you a link which can directly turn you down to the physics sample or the specimen paper released for term 2 2021 and 22. I have some clicks from it, like we'll just greatly detail how what is the format, and I'll have a small analysis on this paper which has been released by CBSE. So these are just a couple of slides on section A and section B. Those are all subjective and numerical questions in this term 2 physics paper. Now, this happens to be the format. Now, we obviously know like it's a 35-mark paper. The time allotted is 120 minutes. That would be 2 hours. We might have a 10-minute reading time, like as in term 1 MCQ, students were provided clear-cut 20-minute reading time before they are starting or commencing of examination. As for this reading time, would be 10 minutes in term 2 examination. Now, in total, the question paper has 15 questions. However, a student will have to attempt only 12 out of those 15 questions. Now, the format is like this. The entire paper has been broken down into 3 sections: section A, section B, and section C. I have some important parts written down in front of you. So let's start with section A. Out of 35 marks, the weightage is 6 marks, that is barely 16%. Now it consists of 3 questions only, and they are all of 2 marks each, right? Now, among these 3 questions, one of the question has an internal choice. So it's not like there's an overall choice that there are 4 questions and any 3 could be done. There is just one internal choice, and one of the 3 questions put in section A, each of which is of 2 marks each. Now section B is the chunk. It consists of 8 subjective questions, which happens to be 3 marks each. Now, once we clearly come to the paper, each of these 3 marks questions have been further split into maybe 1 marker, 3 questions, or 2 parts, maybe of 1 mark plus 2 marks. So we do not have a very clear-cut subjective question of 3 marks. Okay. So we mostly have even the numericals broken down into 2 or 3 subparts. Now, among these 8 questions of 3 marks each, which makes up 24 marks, that is bulk of our paper, we have 2 questions in which internal choices would be given to the students. So I'll again rephrase it. Among the 8 subjective questions of 3 marks each, we have in part B or section B of the question paper, we'll have internal choice only in 2 questions. So actually there are 10 questions, but there's not an overall choice. You can attempt 8 out of 10. 6 would be definitely compulsory, and among only the 2 questions, we can have an internal choice. So this is all what we have in section B. Coming to section C, this is something what is familiar to students as from term 1. We have one case-based study question comprising of 5 MCQs with 4 options, out of which only 1 would be correct. And there's no choice as such in this. Like all the 5 questions pertaining to a given case-based question, all of them are compulsory and each carry a weightage of 1 mark. So this section has 5 marks. So 6 plus 24 plus 5, that comprises about 35 marks term 2 subjective paper for physics. Now, I just run down through papers, and I have some quick analysis for you in the form of this bar graph. And what I've tried to do, as we just went through the syllabus in detail, these are our broad topics or chapters we have, right? We have, 6 chapters. Now, These green line stands for the 3-marker questions. The yellow one is for the 2-marker question, and this purple stands for the case-based question. So the case-based question in the specimen paper came from ray optics, precisely optics unit, and that too ray optics. Further, it was actually a question based on mirage formation. Now, semiconductor had like 3 questions coming, 2 from the section A, that is 2 marks each, and 1 3-marker question. We only had a 3-marker question coming from nuclei, couple of 3-marker questions from wave optics, and 1 3 and 2 mark question each from dual nature of matter and radiation and atoms.
Now, subscribe to Bright Duty course at Rs 1 per day only. Download Bright Duty app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Duty courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Duty follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tuesday and avail your courses at affordable prices.
Now, further, this is the unit-wise weightage. So as we can see on the left pie chart, optics by default is lagbhag 40%, 42% precisely of our syllabus. So out of the 35 mark paper, optics happen to be around 17 marks. That is a lot, right? Optics means both the chapters included, ray and wave optics. Now, as for the types of question, what I could see is around 1/3 of the paper, that is 28%, was straightforward more or less. If a student has gone through even his or her NCRT or any other reference exemplar book properly, they should be clearly able to deal with straight based questions that I have put under the category of theory. Now, there were questions on numericals which were there around 35%. Now, obviously, these numericals were not all compulsory. 2 of them have featured in an internal choice question. That means a student could have avoided 6 marks. However, I personally, given the term 2 syllabus, recommend my students to go for numericals, like which are simple. Like if we'll just talk about our term 2 syllabus, there are very finite possibilities to have a 3-marker numerical coming from. And I guess as a student with some decent practice can have complete command over those numericals, right? We do not expect like obviously a JEE mains level or NEET level numerical coming here. So I personally suggest, that is my personal suggestion, I'll say that obviously it depends on how a student is, but yeah, I promote them to opt for numericals. That saves time and that is like guarantees complete marks if you have got it correct, right? Obviously other teachers might have a completely different opinion, but I'm open to everyone here. Now further, we only had like around 1/5 of the paper that was conceptual. Among that also around 4 to 5 questions generally, sorry, not 4 to 5 questions, 20%, that would be around 7 marks. That was shared among a 3-marker ka subpart and 2-marker question that could be a concept based, like based on a graph that could be basically coming out from photoelectric effect. How does maybe intensity vary with frequency and something like that. So there were some concept based questions as well coming from these topics. Now, moving further ahead, what I would recommend as a course of preparation would be, first thing, primarily, we must ensure our students have decent enough practice of writing back, right? They are totally off for the last 2 years giving these MCQ based unit tests, half yearlies, final exams. They literally have very less practice of writing in a stretch for 2 hours. So this is one thing we need to lay complete focus on. Like they need to be practicing the theory part, the definitions, the descriptive things, the derivations, write them again and again. Next is numerical solving. As I was just mentioning, there are a limited scope gambit of topics from which we can have numericals in Sem 2. First, obviously, is optics. That would be some lens maker formula or possibly an optical instrument based numerical question. We definitely can expect something coming from the line spectra of hydrogen, that is the spectral series or the Lyman-Barmer, etc. Or something coming from the de Broglie's hypothesis, photoelectric effect, and binding energy. I guess this is in totality simple topics, except I would say leave if you cut short with the optics, rest all are literally easy as far as numerical solving are concerned. So we can specifically ask our students to catch hold of some reference book and do at least like 20, 25, 30 numericals a piece on these topics. Next, obviously, we had some fair portion coming from the derivations in the specimen question paper. So we can expect maybe at least 1 2 marker or 2 3 marker plus 2 3 marker question, that is around 8 to 10 marks of the paper to have straightforward derivations, among which possibly which are important: magnifying powers of optical instruments, let it be a microscope or telescope, lens maker formula, then everything related to all the derivations from the Bohr's model, right? The energy or the radius or the velocity of an electron in a given orbit. All these derivations could be asked. Now, under derivation, I'll just put a point here from my side. The question might not be absolutely direct. They might ask you to do a very specific thing which is not there as per se in the NCRT books. Like I can ask you, for example, find the angular momentum of an rather I would say derive an expression for angular momentum of an electron in the third orbit. So something really specific could be asked. Okay. Lastly, there are a few topics where some practice for diagrams have to be done, as you must suggest to students. As for, let's say, just proving lens maker formulas, let's say, or optical instrument. If a student do not have decent practice of doing these back at home at least like 5 6 times, people struggle to do it in examinations. For example, for lens maker formula, student potentially ends up taking up wrong triangles to prove similarity or drawing wrong rays as for the diagram. They get stuck. So there are very limited things for which a student may be directed to practice drawing these diagrams again and again till they are absolutely sure that they'll be able to do it in like 2 or 3 minutes. So over these derivations and diagrams, they should not be wasting any time as per among those 120 minutes for the exam. They should have such decent practice कि it's like almost रटा हुआ है फटाफट लिख सकते हैं, right? Now, as for this diagrams, what are important? Obviously, optical instruments. And further, there are some diagrams from the energy band that could be asked, like draw an energy band for an N-type semiconductor showing the donor or the acceptor level, whichever they will be. Okay. So this is all how I would personally, these are my things, I'll guide my students to prepare for the same. Now, what we have done in collaboration with Goyal Brothers is a Score Plus question bank has been released. Here are some its salient features which makes it a real help for a teacher student, both of them. Now it's absolutely based on the reduced syllabus. Entire chapter begins with a small summary of couple of pages which lays down all the relevant formulas, ray diagrams, whatever is relevant in a particular chapter. So it's like a snapshot. Even before the final exam, a student can just read among these 6 to 10 pages for all the 6 chapters we have in term 2 to have a quick revision, like what are the end results. Then each chapter has been broken down into all types of question, like we have MCQs, 1 marker, 2 marker, 3 marker, and case based questions from each chapter, and these are with the respective answer. So it's like a complete handbook for a student. These are the possible topics, and even if a student does this in writing twice, he or she would be good enough for like 50 to 60% of their syllabus. We also have the specimen paper that is solved along with the marking scheme released by CBSE, and we follow it up with 5 exactly same format based 5 model test papers we have it. Exactly same format, as in we have let down emphasis key whatever weightages we discussed in the pie charts as for the weightage of numericals or the weightage of questions coming from a relevant unit, that has been maintained in these 5 model test papers. They're exactly on the same format as for the specimen paper. So this is all what I had to share from my end. I would now love to have some questions, doubts, suggestions, whatever they are. Please, teachers.
Now, subscribe to Bright Duty course at rupees 1 per day only. Download Bright Duty app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Duty courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Duty follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tuesday and avail your courses at affordable prices.
Okay, I have some text coming up. This Ramya ma'am, or sir, I don't know, sorry. Diffraction and interference derivations. Yes, they very much are in our syllabus. We definitely can be asked to find the expression or derive an expression for fringe width or the width or the angular width of a central maxima and diffraction. These are very much in course. Will the question paper have numericals based on optical instruments? Yes, they very much can be based on the magnifying power of a compound microscope, which are the formulas like 1 plus d by f. They can be directly based on, they are straightforward formulas, yeah, but you need to teach your students all different forms of formulas for magnifying powers of telescopes and microscopes. Nuclear reactor. Actually, I have personal doubts over this. So I, on the safer side, have taught this. It's not a very big topic, but it is not specifically mentioned in the syllabus. Because as for nuclear energy, it forms a part of that topic. So on the safer side, I'll say, yeah, please teach it out. Somebody just asked, optical instruments is in deleted portion, right? Only the eye portion among the optical instruments have been deleted. The rest are very much there. Reflection of light is in syllabus. Yes, it is in syllabus. Ritesh sir, the binding energy topic has not been deleted, and I guess it's a very important topic for numerical coming from this chapter nuclei in the part B of our question paper. Rather, even in the specimen paper, we had a fusion example of hydrogen, I guess, forming into helium. Okay, how much energy coming out of this reaction will be there to power maybe a bulb for a given time. So it is very much there in our topic. Even the binding energy curve happens to be a really important topic. What are the expected dates of practicals and theory based in our place? TPR is 45%. So as for this, we'll have to wait for the guidelines coming for CBSE, like when according to the pandemic situation feels safe to organize all these things. So we'll have to wait for that, sir. How about reflection by mirrors? I don't see it in term 2 syllabus. The reflection part is there. It's reflection by spherical surfaces have been mentioned in the syllabus. That is what exactly is in our term, class 12 syllabus, reflection by curved surfaces, right? But questions are not coming from nuclear reactor. Yeah, I said nuclear reactor possibly is not in the syllabus. Even I have some my doubts over it. So possibly I said like I am a safer side, I've taught it. Yeah, but yes, as for it, I haven't noticed nuclear reactors to be a part of the syllabus. What is expected from radiations? Sami sir, by radiations, we are talking about electromagnetic radiations. Then we might expect the questions coming from the last part now, since the first 2 parts have been deleted mostly. We may be asked about some properties or the frequency or the wavelength ranges of some electromagnetic radiations. What would be the order of magnitude of wavelength of radio waves, for example. We might have questions, theoretical questions coming from the uses and the properties of different EM radiations. Next, what I have here is De Broglie's explanations of Bohr quantization condition. Is it important? See, personally, obviously, as a student, I'll definitely ask, how can you say me ki the angular momentum has to take only these discrete values? So I personally teach it, but yes, it involves simple concept of waves. I will say standing waves from class 11. But yeah, if you feel it's not that important. Actually, it's not even in a syllabus, I would say. So I personally teach it, but we can leave it for now if you're running out of time in the last moment. Binding energy curve is very much there, and I guess we might expect even a case base coming from that. Okay, it's very important topic from that particular unit. Mass defect is only given in the syllabus. No, I assure you, like we can have questions on binding energies. We can have that. Do we have reflection in syllabus? I already answered that, I guess. Is it possible to conduct 2 experiments within 90 minutes? That is okay. Absolutely. The very moment I was saying it's been written, let down by CBSE. Even when I took the practical in term 1 for my students, even I guess 2 hours fall short for them to do maybe a meter bridge or a comparison of EMF via potentiometer, such experiments. They are not at all able to do even in 2 hours, that too even groups, right? Maybe a group of 2 or 3 students. So that is what I said. I led my first point of view ki even I am not aware ki what exactly the external would be done, and I guess that will be seen then only. Mostly one experiment would have to be done, and a weightage of 8 marks out of the 15 mark would be given for that one experiment, followed by 2 marks for the notebook and 5 marks for viva. That is what I perceive will happen. Okay, whether reflection in spherical mirrors is included? Yes, it is. Okay. This time it will be optics experiment and semiconductors, I think. Right, Parul. We'll only have experiments on optics, that is precisely making graphs between 1 by V and 1 by V to obtain the focal length of convex and concave lenses. Couple of experiments are this. One is on the graph finding the refractive index of the prism, right? That is one of them. And lastly, we have IV characteristics of a PN junction diode. These are mostly the syllabus from which we might ask our students to get done with at least four out of them. Okay, I seem to have answered all the doubts. If there are any more doubts, they are more than welcome.
I guess, sir, all the teachers have the queries solved.
Yeah, seems so.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, Mr. Shaurya. Thank you so much for a wonderful session.
Now, subscribe to Bright Duty course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Duty app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Duty courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Duty follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tutor and avail your courses at affordable prices.